Hello, welcome again. So, in order to work as a digital analyst on website tracking, you need to be familiar with Google Tag Manager. In today's course, I'm going to walk you through Google Tag Manager. What is it about? What you should know about it, and how can we work with it? So, of course, you need to go to Google, you put Google Tag Manager, and then you will be able to create your account. Once you create your account, I will just give you like a quick recap again. It will give you some codes, and these codes you can get them again by going to admin. Once you go to admin, you go under the container, and in the container, you can go to install Google Tag Manager. You can see that you will have two codes. The first one you put in the head, and the second one you put in the body. You put these codes there, and then you can double check, as we showed before. You can double check, you can verify that the GTM is there. Now, if we go back to the workspace, first, you'll see that on the left column, you will have something called overview. This will tell you what's the version that you are in. For example, in my case, it's like version 2. The last modified was 14 days ago. It was by me, Hisham. And then you will see here like all the information, like what's the workspace changes, if you did any modifications, if you add anything, if you delete anything. And if you see here, like you can tell what are the workspaces that you had. Of course, you can create another workspace. So let's say that you have like the prod workspace and the like let's say testing workspace. You can create one, but for me personally, I have the default workspace in my case with the shop that we have. Of course, you have to know that based on your company's structure, because some companies they have the development environment, then they have the QA environment, then they have the prod environment. So you need to understand what's the structure of the company that you work with, and based on that you can build your workspaces. But in general, I have the default one, you know. And then you can see here that there's a quick one to add a new tag if you want to add a description. Of course, like if you want to describe anything about the workspace, for example, as we said, that this is a testing workspace, this is a prod workspace, etc., etc. And here you will see more and more information. Of course, in the coming lessons, you will be more familiar with that. But this is the overview. It will just give you like a top level explanation about what is it about. Then we can go to the tags. The tags, it's really interesting because the tags is where you want to report. For example, let's say that I want to report on Google Analytics. You click here and you say, okay, I want to report an event on Google Analytics, right? Or if you want to report it in Google Ads, because you want to, let's say, have the add to cart event in Google Ads, and you have to use the conversion tracking in this case for Google Ads. Something really interesting as well to know if we are talking about meta ads. Meta ads you use it on custom HTML. So here you can have the code provided by Meta to have the add to cart, purchase, etc., etc. Of course, let's go here and let's see what else we can talk about. You can see like you have a lot, and you have the search bar functionality. So even if you, for example, let's say like Snapchat, you go here and you put in the search Snapchat, you should get something, I guess. Oh no, it will be the custom HTML. You can search a lot. So if there's something not available here, you can just like look for it, and then you can see, for example, LinkedIn. Like we saw LinkedIn, but let's say that it was not there. So you put LinkedIn, and some of them, for example, are custom. Some of them are featured. Some of them by Google. Some of them by other users. So it depends. Now, this is the tag. So again, the tag is where you want the trigger to hit. Imagine it as a wall. So the trigger is the bullet and the tag is the wall. I just came up with this analogy, so let's see if it's gonna work. But yeah, this is the tag. Now the triggers is when this should be triggered, like when this bullet should be fired, So as you can see here in the bullets, quite straightforward. In the triggers, you can see that, okay, either you have like a page view, like in our case, if you want this event to fire in all page views, like the GA4, or you want this page view, this event to fire, for example, on the blog post page view or the product page view, you know. There's the custom events and there's the JavaScript as well. So you can see here, you have the links, like for example, when a specific link appears, I want to fire, you have it on the scroll. You know, we talked about the enhanced measurement. So for example, with the scroll, you know, so if you want to measure what's the percentage of users being scrolling, you have the custom events. Of course, when we build custom events on the website, this one, when we use this one, we can grab that specific events, like in our case, for example, the page view. So this is a custom event that I had to implement to be able to know when the page view or when the product view was fired. So I can use that event and put it here as a custom event. And yeah, that's like most likely it. And then you have the variables. Variables is really interesting because here's the thing, you know, like when we go to the preview, let's go to the preview page together. So this is the preview page. Continue. Now this should load. Now it's loaded. Now this should reflect. Okay, perfect. So you can see that, for example, if we go to the page view, you know, this is the page view. This is the whole event that we're trying to track. And then you go to the variables. You can see that here you have the event underscore event, which is the custom event that I told you about. Then you have the event name, and then you have the page name, host name, you have the page path, the page URL. So all these things are being published. Now, let's imagine that I want to, let's go to the product view or item view, in other words. So we go here and you can see that there's something called, let's give it some time to load. Yeah, so this is the product view. So you can see the product view. I have the underscore event, which is the event that we defined here. We have the event as a custom event, which is the product view. We have the host name. But if I want to add another information here, for example, this is the product view, I want to add the name of the product, the price of the product, or the currency of the product, there's something called the data layer. So in the data layer, you can see here that you have the product name, you have the brand, you have the category, you have the currency. So you can include this information here, and we're going to learn about that in the coming lessons. But yeah, you can have this in the variables. So how do you have this is by either like the built-in variables, you know, you can see that what we see here, these are the built-in variables. But in our case, let's say that we want to have different events. Let's see that you want to have like a different variable, sorry. Then you can either use it by data layer. So as I said here, so this is the data layer. Let's say data layer variables. Why data layer variables? Because I already have it here, you know, sorry. So I already have it here as a data layer, right? So this is called the data layer. So I want to have the product name, you know. So what I can do simply, I can go here and then I can say, okay, it's data layer variables. And then what's the name of it? It is as simple as product name, right? So it's a product name. You can see that it's the parent of so there's no parent, you know, of this. It's on the same line, in other words. So you can just put here product name, and then I'm just gonna put it here, product name. And technically, if I do preview again, I should be able to see the product name. Okay, let's wait for it until it loads. Might take some time. You know, like that analysis is really interesting. You know, you have lots of challenges and nobody is expert. Like you keep learning in this field. Yeah. So now if you go to the page view, you know, let's see, for example, the window loaded. Yeah, product name. You see, because we added it. as as a custom variable. Now let's give it a try and let's try to view product. So we go here, and then like we should see the product name. Technically, it should push the product name, and I should see it here. So rather than undefined here, it should be the product name as it's supposed to. Let's see. Yes, you can see that now the product name is MetaQuest 3 Next Gen. As you can see here, it's MetaQuest 3 Next Gen. So once you are done, folders and templates, I will not talk about them right now because for this course, you really will not use it that much, But if you think I need to talk about them, please feel free to add in the comments below. I can create specific lesson about them. But now let's go and say like, okay, I did what I had to do, for example, and I want to go live now. So you have like the version name, you have the version description here, and then you can say that, oh, okay, it's going to be live, it's going to be something else. In our case, it's going to be like the live version. So let's say that we did, like implementing what was it? It was implementing product name, right? So creating a new custom variables, custom variable, push the product name. Now, once I click on publish, whenever a user goes to product, I grab what was the product name. But there's something really important. Me grabbing the product name in the preview of GTM does not mean that it will reflect on Google Analytics. Why? Because, of course, Google Analytics implementation was not there. So we need to do the Google Analytics implementation. For example, we need to create an event. So we need to go here and we create an event called product view. And then under the product view, we create the parameters, and one of these parameters will be the product name. But anyways, I don't want to make it more complicated. We can talk about it later. But here you put the event name, and then here you put the parameters. It will be, for example, product name, and it will push the product name. And yeah, I hope that this gave you like quite a good idea about GTM. Of course, with the coming lessons, you will become more familiar with Google Tag Manager. But again, Google Tag Manager is super powerful tool that I highly recommend you to use it and to learn it as a data analyst. That's it for today. Thank you so much and see you soon.